Hello everyone. Scientists are trying to solve historical enigmas and puzzles, but there's still a lot of unexplainable facts in history. Mysteries, ancient legends, curses, and fantastic artifacts keep bewildering scientists all over the world. Even in the 21st century, there are many stories like this. Today you will hear some of them. Perhaps you'll be able to solve the mysteries that the greatest researchers couldn't. Let's get it on. Atlantis Ring. The Egyptian pyramids still are one of the most mysterious structures in the history of mankind. There's a huge number of theories about their origin, from the simplest and skeptic versions to the strangest theories involving aliens, reptiloids, and Atlantis. During the excavations in 1860, the famous French Egyptologist Marquis de Grasse discovered an unusual ring. This fragile object, several thousands of years old, puzzled many researchers. As a result of numerous experiments, scientists suggested the unusual ring came from Atlantis. This amazing artifact didn't look like it belonged to the Egyptian culture, and supposedly it has extraordinary qualities. The figures are arranged in a certain order too. According to the owners of one of the copies of the Atlantis ring, this piece of jewelry emits strange waves, protecting its carrier from any aggression. We know it doesn't sound very plausible. However, the amazing protective properties of the Atlantis ring were also mentioned by British archaeologist Howard Carter. According to some reports, he made a copy of the Atlantis ring and never parted with it. Rumor has it that this ring helped Carter survive the curse of Tutankhamun that affected several of his colleagues when opening the tomb. Ulfbert swords. All across Europe, there are swords bearing the inscription Ulfbert. They date from the year 850 to the end of the 11th century. However, there is no Ulfbert mentioned in any chronicles or legends. Nevertheless, this person clearly existed, and he created real masterpieces of armory. According to various data, from 100 to 170 Ulfbert swords have been found around the world. Swedish and American researchers discovered that only two types of swords were found. They differed in the purity of steel, the percentage of carbon in it, and the spelling of the inscription. Turns out, Ulfbert swords were so good that someone made fake copies back in the 10th century. Imagine that. But did the mysterious Ulfbert live for many centuries, forging weapons all this time? Well, some researchers believe that the ancient bladesmith had raised many students who engraved all their swords with the name Ulfbert. Koh-i-Noor diamond. The Koh-i-Noor diamond is one of the oldest and most famous diamonds ever. It weighs 105.6 carats, and its origin is shrouded in legends. As one of them says, the stone was found about 5,000 years ago in South India in the famous mines of Golconda, and its first owner was Karna, a legendary hero from India. Until 1304, the Koh-i-Noor diamond belonged to the Rajas of Malwa, and then changed its owners on many occasions as a result of various conquests, until it finally ended up in the treasury of the East India Company and was sent to Britain. By that time, the diamond had already gained a bad reputation. It was believed to bring bad luck to its owner because everyone who wore the Koh-i-Noor died in a terrible way, like betrayal or something like that. However, Queen Victoria demanded the stone to be inserted into her crown and wore it daringly. After the huge gemstone was recut, it lost more than 40% of its weight and changed several crowns before ending up in the crown of Queen Elizabeth II. Does this mean that all the stories about the gemstone being cursed were made up? Or maybe Queen Victoria knew perfectly well what kind of stone had fallen into her hands? It's probably no coincidence that since then, only women have worn the Koh-i-Noor diamond in the crown. The Devil's Bible. The Gigas Codex, also known as the Devil's Bible, is a long 13th century manuscript from Bohemia, a historical land in the Czech Republic. The manuscript is well known for its size and for an astonishing full-page depiction of the devil. Astonishing for various reasons. Maybe Middle Ages people were frightened by this drawing, but today it looks kind of funny. At least two people are needed to lift this book, made of 160 animal skins. Legend has it that the Gigas Codex was written by a monk who, after his death sentence, made a deal with the devil. With his help, the monk wrote the book in one night, and the devil drew his self-portrait in it. Well, looks like the devil wasn't very good at drawing. Strange as it may seem, the handwriting in the book is surprisingly clear and uniform, as if all the content had actually been written within a short period of time. Nevertheless, scientists estimate you'd need 5 years of uninterrupted writing or 30 years of normal work to finish such a book. All this without changing the handwriting either. How is this possible? It's still unclear. For centuries, scientists and experts have been asking themselves the same questions. What was the purpose of this book and who created it? It's believed that the Devil's Bible has a peculiar, genuinely devilish appeal, and everyone seeing this artifact can feel it. Sumerian King List. The mysterious ancient Sumerian civilization left a lot of information that keeps baffling scientists. For example, ancient Sumerian records say that the Earth was ruled by 8 virtually immortal kings for 241,200 years. Sound absurd? Meanwhile, a mysterious artifact found during excavations in Iraq confirms it. An ancient manuscript known as the Sumerian King List includes a complete list of Sumerian rulers and ruling dynasties. It also indicates the assumed period of reign of these rulers and the territory they governed. It took quite a long time to decipher the inscriptions. When it was finished, it turned out that the King List was not limited to the list of the rulers. It also describes many ancient events known from other sources, which once again confirms its authenticity. However, researchers were particularly struck by the reigning terms of the first 8 kings, the oldest ones in the Sumerian King List. Each of them had been in charge for tens of thousands of years, and another mystery is the drastic reduction of the terms of government after a certain period of time. Judging by the records, it happened after the Great Flood. The reign time of the following kings quickly reached the usual human numbers. But what happened? Researchers have speculated on this matter, but not one theory has been confirmed so far. The Stone of Scone. It's not just a big old rock, it's one of the most sacred relics of Scotland. According to folk legend, this mysterious stone has a unique ability. It's able to distinguish a true monarch from a bystander. If a random person claims the throne, the stone will crack, making a terrible sound. The legends of the Stone of Scone go back to the first millennium BC. One of the legends says that Pharaoh Ramses II had a daughter named Scota. The princess left ancient Egypt and wandered the Middle East for more than 1,000 years. Then she reached Spain and headed for Ireland. Having finally reached the northern coast of Ireland, she saw what she had been striving for so long, the lands that later would be called Scotland. It's believed that Scota was the one who brought the large stone to Scotland. Therefore, it was later named the Stone of Scone. It was on this stone that all the kings of Scotland sat during the coronation. Afterwards, King Edward Longshanks of England took the Stone of Scone among other trophies and transported it to Westminster Abbey. There, the relic was placed under the wooden throne on which the English monarchs, including Elizabeth II, were crowned. They probably all believed in the legendary ability of the stone to distinguish a real king from a fake one. Only in 1996 did the British government decide to hand over the stone to Scotland. But it was agreed that the English would borrow it for the coronations. On November 30th, 1996, the Stone of Scone finally returned to Scotland and was placed next to the Scottish regalia in Edinburgh Castle. Busby's Stoop Chair. Thomas Busby's cursed chair is a very mysterious object located in a small English town in North Yorkshire. It looks quite common, an old wooden chair hanging in a local museum. But why? So that none of the visitors would accidentally sit on it, because everyone who does this will inevitably die. The story goes that at the end of the 17th century, a certain Thomas Busby from the small town of Kirkby killed a man. Of course, the criminal was convicted and sent to the gallows. Thomas's last wish was to have some whiskey in his favorite pub. He was escorted to the pub where he emptied the last glass of his life and then said, "Now I'm going to die, and I'm not coming back here again. But whoever decides to sit in my chair will die." For 10 years, none of the locals dared to sit in Busby's chair, until one day a visiting chimney sweep did it, and the next day he fell from the roof and died. From that day on, the story turned into a legend, and daredevils began to appear in the city, ready to challenge the cursed chair. In total, between 1712 and 2009, about 60 people have died, and there haven't been any more victims, only because the dangerous furniture was finally placed in the museum. Piri Rice Map. Can you imagine a map of the world, or at least a region, made back in the 16th century? It's definitely not the most accurate document in terms of cartography. After all, they didn't have planes at the time. That's why the Piri Reis map became a real sensation. It was compiled by the Turkish admiral Piri Reis in 1513 in Constantinople. The map shows parts of the western coast of Europe and North Africa with high accuracy. You can easily recognize the Brazilian coast and the east end of South America. Add a variety of Atlantic islands, including the Azores and the Canary Islands, and you have a unique and extremely accurate cartographic document. Some researchers even believe the map contains parts of the Antarctica, so people knew about it in the past back then, but according to official records, this continent was discovered only in the 19th century. Of course, skeptics have their arguments, as they always do. For example, some believe that the Piri Reis map is not very accurate even for its time, which means it's not unusual in any way. Others point to the fact that the coast of Antarctica on the map is connected to the coast of South America, which means there is no Drake Passage. But its width in the narrowest place isn't less than 800 kilometers. It should be pretty visible. However, some scientists suppose that Piri Reis made his map based on the works of ancient cartographers, unknown seafarers who explored the planet when the outlines of the continents were quite different. Hey, stop being lazy, it's time to use that brain of yours. Welcome to Brain Time. Incredible facts from the past, the present, and even the future. The power of nature and wild animals, amazing facts and unsolved mysteries. You'll find all this and much more here. Subscribe now, you won't regret it.